The Chicago Bears entered the 2022 offseason in an interesting situation as a franchise. They will be hiring both a new general manager and a new head coach, and will enter the 2022 NFL Draft without a first-round pick due to trading for current quarterback Justin Fields. They also have to think about the future of veteran Khalil Mack, who is owed a whopping $30 million this season and who will be 31 years old at the start of the 2022 season. Khalil, right, wrong, or indifferent, also has not notched double-digit sacks since the first season the Bears traded for him back in 2018, in which he was a first-team All-Pro player and the heart and soul of what was a very, very good defense, only to lose in the wild card round of the playoffs. The Bears have a lot of decisions to make this year for both their short and long-term plans, and we will break it all down today, so without further ado, let's begin. So the first question I feel like you have to ask with the Bears heading into the offseason is this, and we know the answer. Are we close to competing for a Super Bowl? And right now the answer is a definitive no. And the next question or train of thought is, well, do we have one of the hot-shot young gun quarterbacks that can be a multiple-time Pro Bowl player and be the face of our franchise and city for the next 10 to 15 years, the way Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes look right now? And that answer is unclear with Justin Fields, and you can push both sides of this. He did not have a great line in his rookie year, to say the least, and he did not have a lot of weapons to work with. Allen Robinson played in 12 games and is a free agent, and at 28 years old, will more than likely want to both ring chase and have one last true payday because he's not getting any younger, and he is coming off of the worst year of his career. At this point and towards the end of the 2021 season, I feel like Allen just wanted out as it was not a good situation for both him and the Bears. I don't see any way Allen returns in 2022, which creates another need at the receiver position. And for Justin Fields, a player who threw just 7 touchdowns to 10 interceptions in his rookie season and who was under pressure a lot, we are attacking this rebuild similar to how we did with the Jags. This is a bad football team, and you have to build immensely around the quarterback. Step 1. Re-sign guard James Daniels. Now, this is going to be a multiple-year rebuild because Chicago's not going to go from 6-11 being abysmal on offense, have a rookie quarterback throw for 7 touchdowns in over 55% of the snaps played in his rookie season, to competing for the NFC next year. And after the Daniels re-signing, things get tricky because the Bears do not have a first-round pick. And I really don't know what he would fetch in a trade, but I feel like this offseason, one way or another, we will see the departure of Khalil Mack from the Chicago Bears, and whatever they can net is going to help the offense out in 2022 from a draft pick, and the draft picks that they receive will be spent on the offense, which will only go to helping the nurture and development of quarterback Justin Fields. The Bears will have 2 starters for what we project to be at least the next 4 to 5 years on the O-line in James Daniels and Tevin Jenkins, but aside from that, it is up in the air. They also need to address the wide receiver position, and I highly doubt they will be able to acquire a player of Davante Adams' caliber, even though he is a free agent. To me, Davante will be in a position similar to Allen Robinson, where neither player has a ring and both are approaching 30, and on top of it, I don't think Tay would want to go to Chicago and essentially tarnish his legacy to Packers fans, only to inevitably put up worse numbers because of what would be the drop-off from Rodgers to Fields. Remember, not only is Aaron Rodgers a better quarterback than Justin Fields, but what I'm also saying is they had years and years build-up of chemistry. The Bears are not too financially strapped this offseason because, well, really over the past few years, they have not had to pay anyone too big aside from the Khalil Mack contract, and even the Eddie Jackson extension was a 4-year, $58 million deal, which sounds like a lot at $14.5 per year, but only 33 of that was guaranteed, and when contracts are signed, speaking from a team's perspective, that is ultimately the one that matters most, the guaranteed part. So they will have a decent amount of money to go after a free agent target at the receiver position, like Chris Godwin, Mike Williams from the Chargers, Michael Gallup, or even players like DJ Chark or Juju Smith-Schuster. And honestly, if I'm the Bears, I try to do a similar, though not exact, as the infamous tight end room a few years ago. Now that was obviously like a meme in itself, where they had like 11 tight ends on the roster, and I'm not suggesting to bring in like 12 or 14 receivers, but what I'm saying is I'm talking with good receivers, not has-beens or practice squad receivers, because they have the financial capability right now. For the 2022 offseason, we are solely focusing on getting quarterback Justin Fields not only more weapons, but also a better offensive line. We are attacking this for the long haul for the Bears because of how far they are away from seriously competing. For a head coach, as crazy as this sounds, I really wouldn't mind a Dan Quinn or a Jim Caldwell for the position, and here's why. Both have head coaching experience, and a considerable amount at that. Both have been to Super Bowls, and players also love playing for each of these guys. And with the emphasis that I have put on building around Justin Fields, it would be critical for the McCaskies to get Quinn or Caldwell the offensive coordinator of their choice in order to do so. The reason why I said Quinn or Caldwell is because it is believed at this point in time they are two of the three finalists for the job, with the other being, and I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing this right, but Matt Eberflus from the Colts. But what is most important to note is this is not a 1-year turnaround, this is a 3 to 4 year process. And as I was recording this, the Bears hired Ryan Poles to be their next GM, who was the Chiefs' assistant director of player personnel, and Sean Payton stepped away, as Ian Rappaport tweeted during the creation of this video. I'm sure Bears fans, like Cowboys fans, would love Sean Payton to be the next head coach, and I don't blame them, but I don't think they can this offseason because the Saints have him under contract through 2024, so they would have to trade, and I really don't know what that would be, but the report right now is Sean Payton is retiring. So back to rebuilding the Bears. Ryan Poles had been in the Chiefs organization since 2009 and watched how an organization is run, both good and bad. Remember, the Chiefs had the number 1 overall pick back in 2013, and Poles was a part of this staff. Not really staff, but the front office, so staff in a sense. You get where I'm going. He saw the rise of Alex Smith, who was not a good quarterback for the 49ers, but became a 5-time Pro Bowl player for the Chiefs, and of course the rise of Patrick Mahomes. Unfortunately for Poles and Justin Fields, he's not going to get a year to sit behind a good veteran player in Alex Smith and not only learn the ropes, but push everyone to their limits in practice, every day that is. So that will be different from the start. But this, at least in my opinion, only confirms something I said earlier in the video. Poles saw Chargers receiver Mike Williams destroy the Chiefs over and over the past few years, including a 7-catch, 122-yard, 2-touchdown performance in this year in what was a win for the Chargers, and he was the perfect big-body target for Justin Herbert, a young quarterback in his own rights, and I would be shocked if the Bears now do not go out and get him. For the defense, unfortunately they will miss out on a Kyle Hamilton type player, but I would expect Poles to trade Mack for, again, this is kind of tongue-in-cheek, but a second and a third, and this is under the pretense Chicago would eat some of the money from Khalil Mack and draft potentially an edge rusher like Jermaine Johnson from Florida State, who had 14 sacks this past fall for Florida State and could complement Robert Quinn, who had an insane 18.5 sack year in 2021. The Bears will also have to try and get a center in free agency, and perhaps someone like a Ryan Jensen from the Bucs would do the job. If the Bears had an O-line of Jensen, James Daniels, and Tevin Jenkins, that would be a hell of a start, and in addition, adding Mike Williams to an offense that already has David Montgomery, who will perform well on a contract year next year, and what will be third-year tight end Cole Kmet. Things will be on the rise for Chicago if they can follow this plan. The GM hiring mid-video kind of threw me off, but I like the hiring of Poles and think Chicago will do well over the next couple of years with a CEO-type coach in a Jim Caldwell or Dan Quinn. Matt Nagy in 2021 was on borrowed time, as was Ryan Pace, and the selection of Justin Fields was not only desperate, but a last gasp for air at saving their jobs. And while they could not, the Bears' future, if they can get a Mike Williams or Chris Godwin, and a center in free agency, and a edge rusher in the draft, will not look so bad after all. And I always like being transparent with you guys, and I have a quick ad, and it's you guys that made this possible. As always, I appreciate the support, and here's a quick word from my friends at Colorcast. When you're watching sports, have you ever thought to yourself, these commentators suck, I could do better? Well, with Colorcast you can. Colorcast is a new social sports broadcasting app that puts the power of the mic in the hands of the fans. With Colorcast, comedians, podcasters, former athletes, and armchair experts can call live sports games and interact with their listeners. This is your chance to hear or share unfiltered, raw sports content all in real time. And the best part about it is all you need is an iPhone or an iPad. There's no fancy equipment required. Now I want you guys to go ahead and check out Colorcast in the App Store by clicking on the link at the top of the screen or in the bio. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, now is the time I ask you to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because it would truly mean the world. And if you have a video suggestion, let me know, and until next time, be safe. As always, love you guys.